papers in here. We put it on the plate, and that's what we all got.
One of these things.
Oh, no, thank you.
Crap.
So you ready? Okay, this story is when I was a little girl, and it's for our mother. When I was a little girl, I had a Christmas I will never forget. When I was a little girl, I had a Christmas I'll never forget. This is our mother. Joe Bill was baby in diapers and didn't walk yet. Dorothy was a toddler, still in diapers. James was first grade. Wally tormented me and my twin, she's identical twin, Essie, about a boy and boyfriends, and threw rocks in the creek and across the road. Austin was the big brother to me and my twin Essie. Austin somehow always knew what Essie and I ought not to be doing. We just lived below the Blue Ridge Mountains with part of the property in North Carolina and part in Virginia. What is now the Anderson homestead was a two-room cabin with wood floors and fireplace for heat. The whole family slept in the same room with two large beds, one for Mom and Daddy and one large bed for the bigger children. Daddy built a trundle bed that fit under our bed for Dorothy, James, and Joe Bill. My best memories of my daddy are him sitting in the front window with his Bible, reading quietly and praying, and of our Christmas times. Daddy was such a kind, gentle man that he couldn't stand for anyone or any animal to be harmed. He allowed no speaking ill will of anyone. Wow. Pretty powerful. If someone talked badly of another, he'd quietly say, I don't think we ought to be talking like that. He said it very gently, very quietly. He would say, I don't think we ought to be talking like that. Daddy worked farming, tilling the fields, and grubbing trees, cutting down trees is what that is. The crops were canned every year for the winter. Daddy had an old red mule named Laverne that the family used with the wagon he built to drive into town for sugar or items we could not make. Laverne also pulled the plow for Daddy to till the farm. Daddy was an excellent carpenter, so he was able to build just about anything from trees from his own land. He built things for the neighbors when they needed something and traded us a pig, chickens, or anything we agreed on. Mama was always cooking, cleaning, and visiting the neighbors, trying to make sure we were all fed, clothed, and often worked with Daddy in the fields. We usually had one cow every year to butcher in the spring, so generally did not have to go without meat. She also taught in a one-room schoolhouse when she was young. I don't think I ever knew anyone who worked as hard as Mama. Our family struggled at times, and we usually did not go without food, clothing, or love. Mama was real strict, and both Mom and Daddy were big on respect. Mama made all of our clothes. The older kids noticed that year that things were getting a little lean because Essie and I had to keep wearing the same dresses 2 and 3 weeks at a time, even though we had grown out of them. Austin and Raleigh's pants were a little short and looked odd. Mama ran out of material, even the used material, because she used every scrap for something. As I remember, there was snow everywhere that year. It was so beautiful to see the mountain with green and blue colors showing through the snow in the sunlight. The fireplace crackled in the evenings, and everything was all lit up because there was a full moon shining through the front window of the house. We didn't have boots, so we knew if we went outside, we'd get cold. Our feet were the coldest. The girls always wore dresses, so our legs would get cold too. Anyway, we sure hated to go outside to the outhouse to use the toilet. Then there were no phones, no electricity, no radios, no television, no communication other than the neighbors and the family sharing. Think about that. No iPods. No iPads,
so much better.
no computers,
Yeah.
no internet.
He said that's why he had 12 kids.
And they really didn't have, they actually had 9 children, but they didn't have to do recycle because everything was automatically used for something. You didn't have recycle, it was already recycled a few times.
Right.
When Daddy went into town once a month, he sat with friends at the neighbors, men in the radio down the Mayberry General Store for news. Now, if you think about this, if she was born in 1913, this would have been, you know,
17?
17.
Yeah.
Daddy was born in 13. But she would have been a young woman when the Depression hit, so she would have been a very young woman. Unbeknownst to the children, Daddy and Mama were a young couple with a very large family who had entered a time called the Hoover Days. The crops were few and not much to sell. We had to keep what we'd grown for our family to survive. There was just no other way to make any money at that time for country folk. When Daddy went to town, he would listen on the radio with the neighbors to the sad stories of the homeless standing in soup lines and about the state the country was in. Sometimes we'd pray for them when our food was blessed. Every year for Christmas, each of us 6 children would get one of Mama's pie tins and put it under the pine tree that Daddy cut down a few days before Christmas. Mama would string popcorn for the tree. We children made Christmas chains out of old wrapping paper and school papers Mama saved. Santa would put 1 orange, 1 apple, 3 nuts of some kind, and 1 red striped peppermint stick candy in our pie tin for Christmas morning. The year before, Santa must have had more money because me and Essie got porcelain dolls about this size. She was showing her finger from here to here. This is actually her talking to me. She was talking to me and I was writing. Did you catch that? Okay.
Little.
Mama sometimes made us rag dolls with leftover material. Yeah, it would be. About a week before, some of that stuff you could get some money out of now for sure. About a week before Christmas, Daddy called all of us in and told us there would be nothing for the 5 pie tins. He said, he got teary. He said, there just isn't any Santa Claus.
Oh my. What a disappointment.
Well, you know, she never let us believe in Santa Claus. And this is some of the, you know, being a child of Depression days, you know, you would have to get pretty real with it. I just can't tell you how sorry I am, but there will be nothing for you. We all started crying. Joe Bill was too young to know what was going on, but Dorothy knew it was bad because everyone was unhappy, so she cried too. Everybody know Aunt Dot? She's still funny.
Yeah, she's still.
She's funny. James hid at the side of the bed and cried by himself. Riley usually found something to tease me and Essie about, but he was just silent and patted both me and Essie on the shoulder and said, "It'll be all right." Austin just stared and didn't say anything either. Mama said, "Well, it's about time they knew there was no Santa Claus anyway." Grandma Anderson was pretty, well, this is how it is. She was a tough guy. She was a tough guy. On Christmas Eve, Daddy took Austin, Raleigh, and James with him and cut down an oak tree. And the boys worked together. Daddy started sawing and cutting pieces out of the wood for a wagon. Daddy used a cross saw to make the wheels and an auger to make the wagon tongue. The wagon was called a truckle wheel wagon. He told us, "Now you can play with this wagon on Christmas Day." We were all excited and felt better about Christmas, but wanted to play with the wagon on Christmas Eve, but Daddy said no. My cousin Donald has had that restored, and that wagon is sitting on the front porch of the old homestead. After supper on Christmas Eve, we all met with Mom and Daddy in front of the crackling fireplace that Christmas after dark. The moon was shining in from the front window on Mom and Daddy's smiling faces. I remember the smell of thyme flowing through the air. It just smelled so good. Mama does love to smell pine, I know that. That's a smell she just enjoys. Austin, Essie, Riley, James, and I got our pie tins and set them under the tree.